Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the Meno Lounge. I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of Menowell, Menopause Energy and Protein Bars. Not the usual background. I'm at a business retreat in Lake Tahoe, locking down our plan and budget for 2025, but that would not stop me from Meno Lounge today. I'm going to bring up right now, here's that part where she comes up. Let's see, make sure we got you, Kelly.
Yay!
There you are, Dr.
Hi!
Kelly. Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm so good. Thanks
So
for
good.
scheduling this time.
I am so. Are you kidding? I'm sure all the women that are helping at this retreat with me are like, okay, they're watching in the other room or something. They're probably like, can I come on and ask questions? Like, no, I got you. But
You're in
Dr.
Lake
Kelly,
Tahoe.
yeah, it's so beautiful,
That's
gorgeous.
pretty.
Work hard, hike, get inspired, come back, work hard, right?
Love it.
Like you're working hard,
I
getting
know.
your book out in the world in the biggest way. Well, let me
Today's
just give
the
you a
real
proper,
launch.
oh, I'm so glad we're going to talk about that. But I don't know how you wouldn't know Dr. Kelly Casperson, but just in case, she's a board certified urologist. She's a life coach, menopause expert, and really expert on all things women's sexual wellness, starting with anatomy and mindset, all the beautiful pieces brought together in her gorgeous book. I want to make sure I say it right. I wish I had it, Kelly. I should have brought it with me.
I have it.
Do you have yours? Hold yours up. You are.
You are not broken.
In reverse. You are not broken, and stop shitting all over your sex life.
Yeah.
So let's just take the title is so important. We are not broken, and especially today, I really want to talk about women in midlife, of course, and especially those of us who have been in long-term relationships, who love our partners, but may feel disconnected, almost feel broken. And then we make up all these stories about, why that person doesn't do this or why I don't feel this way and it creates just this space between us. And I listened to your TEDx talk again. So good. So make sure you listen to Dr. Kelly's TEDx talk too. So let's just jump in right out of the gate. Let's go back to you talk about how Hollywood has given us this crazy idea of what our sex lives are supposed to look like. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So we didn't get an education. Most people in the world don't get good educations. And some studies say the education that was given in America in the 90s was better than the education given now. So just in case we think that the younger generation's doing better, they're not. And our education was, we were teenagers. We probably weren't very receptive. It was fear-based, shame-based disease and pregnancy prevention plan. So when you think about the quality of that education in helping you have a thriving sex life as you age, as you commit to a long-term relationship, you don't get anything in regards to, what's normal, what's not normal, what do you do when the ups and the downs come. And so we feel broken, and then we go out and look for any available education, which is country music, Hollywood, porn for some people, right? Erotica, fantasy,
especially
right?
for men, right?
Yes.
So they're getting educated in that framework.
And so a lot of that is not high quality education. And then we start thinking, well, that must be what other people's lives are like. And then we don't match up, or we don't hold up, and we certainly aren't doing what they're doing. And so then we feel very broken about it. And so the first part of the book is like, listen, ladies, this is not your fault. You got here from a really rough education or lack thereof.
Right.
And so it kind of like diffuses, because I think so many sex, and why I wrote the book is like a good amount of sex education books are like, just be somebody you're not. Buy a stiletto, buy a toy, buy some lingerie, act a certain way. And people are like, but I'm not that, that's not me,
And that doesn't mean you can't have a good, enjoyable sex life if you aren't wearing stilettos and a feather or something, right?
And so to me, I'm like, I want to meet them where they are and be like, you are not broken. You think you're broken because you're comparing yourself to what the statistics are, or what Hollywood looks like, or this fake, curated image of what sex is. Because we just didn't get an education.
And our partners, I know we as women sometimes want to blame, I'm just going to go the heterosexual route here though, that because men have this education that maybe they got from porn or some other thing, and then they're bringing that to our party, and so they don't know either. Nobody knows, right? It's
Yeah.
no one
Yeah.
knows
And,
what it's supposed to be.
I say in the book, like, men didn't get a special secret class that like we didn't get, right? If anything, they don't have our body parts, right?
Yeah.
So they're even farther behind the eight ball, and it really is our job to understand our body, understand what's pleasurable, and communicate that.
Yeah.
And that's not how a lot of people were educated. We just, maybe had a first partner, late teens, early 20s, kind of thought that was what was supposed to happen, right? And we kind of perpetuate this myth of it's difficult or it's their job to give us pleasure without us ever communicating to them what's good, what's bad, what hurts, what turns you off. Learning how to communicate is adult level sex ed.
Yeah. That's not the 101, that's the 301, right? And most of us never get there. Never.
No.
Which is sad. So that's why we have your book.
What sex education taught you about pleasure? What sex education taught you about communicating?
Right.
It's pretty rare.
Very, very rare. Thank goodness for your book. And by the way, I gave your book to my 20-something daughter because we've had conversations, but not that level of clear communication, because even in my late 50s, I'm still learning so many things, obviously getting clear about, being in a 33-year marriage, wonderful marriage, but there's always ways to make it better. Right. So, so here, Georgia, here's the book. You don't have to wait until you're 50.
I mean, I think this is a book for all ages, all adults. This is not a kids, teenage sex ed book. Right. This is adult sex ed, but it's for any gender. People who don't have clitorises can benefit from understanding how our bodies work and what happens in menopause and what happens, how does our body get aroused? We don't talk about it. We only talk about half of the population and what that looks like when they get aroused. Right. So really this book, I mean, I have many, many men who say, I read your book. It's super helpful. Men need to read this book. So it's kind of geared towards the heterosexual female, because I think she is the most underserved of everybody. The orgasm gap, right, is the greatest in the heterosexual relationship. So I think that the heterosexual female is really behind the eight ball when it comes to understanding how to level the playing field.
Yeah. Well, and then we can teach it forward also. So you mentioned something about anatomy, and I know you say, anatomy matters and pleasure is vital to our overall health. Can you talk about why it's not just pleasure to have a baby or just for fun, that is actually vital to our health?
Yeah.
And how is that true?
I mean, there's tons of data, again, not out in the public media, but tons of data on the benefits of orgasm and how it actually helps the immune system and helps with relaxation and it helps some people sleep and it helps with period cramps. And there's actual health benefits to pleasure in the pelvis and orgasm. I never want to say that in saying somebody should have an orgasm, right? But I want people to think pleasure is not shameful. It's not dirty. Our body actually evolved to get bonus care from it.
Yeah.
So, and that's pretty cool. It could be neutral.
Yeah.
Right. You can say,
well, we enjoy taste. We like pleasure of flavor. So why would we skip it in other areas?
Yeah. And it's pretty cool that the body not only made it more than neutral, an orgasm could be neutral. It could just feel good, but it actually has health benefits, which is crazy. We have data in men, we don't have data in women, but I extrapolate of men who have orgasms live longer, who are sexually active, they live longer. Now that could be because they're in good relationships. That could be because their heart's healthy enough to have sex. It could be a lot of different reasons, but the data does show you do live longer if you're sexually active.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to share that with my husband. He'll like that. He'll go, oh, told you.
Longevity benefits. Yeah, totally.
What about the mindset aspect of all of this, Kelly? Because, especially me being in the nutrition and lifestyle side of the menopause conversation, what we believe about ourselves at this time in our life, we're not too old, we're not too dry, but we could be dry. So there's things for that. All of those things. So how does our mindset and our beliefs play a part in how we navigate going forward and unbreaking ourselves?
Yeah. I mean, the brain is the biggest sex organ, right? So I really got into the brain and our thoughts on this last because I'm a surgeon, I'm a physician, I can prescribe medications, and I got to the point where I'm like, I've got great hormones, great lubes, great vibrators, great physical therapists. I can get a great pelvis. But if you think sex is exhausting, it takes too long, it's dirty, it's, you know, shameful, it's all about him, like, your thoughts about sex matter. Your body image matters. How you feel in your body matters, right? All of that. Are we judging ourselves while we're trying to have sex? It's gonna dampen pleasure. And so really cleaning up, and in the book I talk about, like, pay attention. What do you think about sex, right? Nobody ever asks anybody, what do you think about sex? How are you raised? What did your parents tell you about this? What did your culture share about women? Like, all of that's very important. And then once you can see it, you can decide, I'm going to keep this, or it doesn't serve me. Those thoughts get to stay outside of the bedroom.
Really important. I know our mindset is everything, really. It's how we navigate through the world, whether it's about intimacy or food or any of those things. So it feels like the last thing, but it's actually the first thing. Otherwise, the stuff doesn't help.
You know, a lot of people are like, oh, it might be icky, it might be hard work. Of like, that's why I argue that, like, figuring out your sex life as an adult is like the highest level of personal growth. You're gonna be like intentional. What do you want to think about this? How much intimacy do you want in your life? What do you need to change? Like, this is a bigger, deeper deal than just like, don't forget lube. You know, like, there's really a lot of personal growth that can happen, and it's quite profound if you let it.
I love that. I agree with you. I hadn't thought about it in that context. It's really the ultimate level of vulnerabilities for many people to be that exposed, literally, about not just your body, but how you feel about it, which relates to how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know, learning to talk to your partner about it is like, that's where intimacy is built. Sex is, as much as we use sex to sell stuff and we use sex to entertain, like, we are using sex in this society of, like, don't lose sight of the fact that this is incredibly vulnerable. It's incredibly personal, and, like, give it its due for what it is. The fact that we, you know, put shiny things on it and sell cars with it doesn't diminish how incredibly personal this is for people.
Right. That's so good. The power is in the intimacy. I want to talk more about that. I just saw the comments were coming by so fast I couldn't see all of them, but one hanging on my screen is, this is the true self-actualization, the top of Maslow's hierarchy, you know, really, really cool. And then somebody else said, I'm 66 and I'm writing out to get your book right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
And for people to know that, like, I have people who didn't have great sex lives, and now they have the best sex of their lives in their 70s, right? There is not an aging out. There's not a tapping out. There's not, I'm too old for this. Like, it's a little bit of physical activity, but this isn't like trying to run a half marathon when you're 74. Like, it's relatively easy.
You don't need to say, like, you know, hit your watch. Okay, go. You know, we don't need to track it in that way. But
people take up pickleball all the time when they're 65. Like, we can learn new things.
Okay, so now let's step into the scenario of many long-term couples who love each other, but can slip into the roommate zone where, you know, you love to be together, but it still feels a little more like roomies than back, you know, with a little bit more sweetness and cuddly, like all that kind of stuff. I'm not describing it very well, but the kind of the roommate syndrome. How do you help couples get out of that rut?
Yeah, well, do they want to get out of that rut, right? So have you talked to your partner about it? Do they think it's a problem? Do you think it's a problem? Have you ever talked about it? Because I'm like, don't go have sex because I told you to and I wrote a book about it. Like, don't go have sex because your neighbors are probably having
Dr.
sex.
Kelly said it's good for our longevity. Let's go.
Yeah, but I mean, truthfully, I think, like, an external reason to have sex is not going to get you a happy sex life. It's not going to do it. You know, like, oh, this is good. This will fight colds in the winter. We should do this. It's like, that's not sustainable.
Right.
You know, whether it's eating healthy or exercising.
Not sustainable. So it might happen once or twice, but it's not. going to continue on because you found that space in between. It's not transactional, right?
Yeah,
That's
like you're
the thing.
doing it for a different reason, right? Like I'm supposed to exercise because it's like, no, you got to find your why so that you become somebody who eats healthy. You become somebody who exercises. You become somebody who goes to bed on time. You become somebody who has a healthy sex life. Of like, it becomes part of you, but that requires a commitment. And so I'd say with those, so let's say there's a couple and they are roommate syndrome and they don't like that. They want more intimacy. Realize intimacy is all day long. You know, do you touch? Do you cuddle? Do you sit next to each other on the couch? Do you touch each other when you're making, you know, something in the kitchen just lightly? Like connection is always there to be built. And if you only touch each other when you go have sex, like you've lost this massive opportunity to stay connected the whole time. So that's one thing. I think we get into routines, right? We forget that's important. And then creating time for it. We're all busy. You're not a great sex life does not exist in a vacuum. It doesn't happen accidentally.
You don't have to wait for the spontaneous bomb, because that may never happen, right?
Yeah, totally. Okay. So like, and that's the myth of Hollywood, spontaneous desire, right? And nobody has spontaneous desire all the time their entire life. A lot of the times it'll come and go. How's your health? How's your hormones? How's the newness of your relationship? How well have you kept intimacy up? What are your thoughts about your partner? Right? Like all of those will influence desire.
Yeah. And so what do you think about scheduling? My parents have been married, I don't know, 62 years or something. And I remember they're probably in their late 70s and I was at their house and I saw the calendar, you know, on the refrigerator with a magnet, and there was these happy face stickers on there. Why did I ask Mom, what are those? She's like, do you really want to know? Okay, tell me. She goes, you know, well, you know, Dad, that's when your dad and I are together and we're a little older, so it takes a little preparation. So we need to plan it out. I'm not sure if I wanted to ask or like, that is so cool, you know? So it's scheduling, so what do you think about that?
All the experts say to schedule. It's like the only experts that don't say to schedule is they're like, watch out if it becomes a chore or becomes a to-do list, or that when you schedule it, it has to happen a certain way. Like if there's too much pressure to that, then it's not great for you. But everybody's like, you want to be a person who works out? You got to schedule it. You want to be a person who eats healthy food? You got to plan for it. Like you want a great sex life? You got to carve out time for it, because never have we ever had such competition for our dopamine.
Huge.
Netflix.
I love that you said dopamine, not competition for our time, for our dopamine. That is huge. Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Netflix, social media.
It's so much easier to sit on the couch and eat ice cream and scroll on Netflix and Instagram. So much easier than actually like connecting, being naked, working on an orgasm. Like it actually is a little bit of work. Sorry if people don't want me to call it that, but like it's easy to see. Like think back 150 years ago. What was like the best thing of the week? They didn't have ice cream. They didn't have entertainment. They didn't have anything.
Eating some like, meat, probably, right? Eating
like
something.
A dance. If you know, you had the dance twice a summer, and sex. Like that was like the pinnacle of dopamine. There was nothing else.
Right.
Now we have every single thing you could possibly want whenever you want it.
In our pocket, like, in our hand.
Like sex competes with that, right? And so like I just bring it up to be like, dude, if you don't carve out time for it, you can get dopamine way easier.
Whew. That's some truth. Everybody needs to rewind that, listen again, and forward it to your partner and to yourself. We're not just pointing at partners here. I want to talk about something a little bit sensitive here. Hopefully Instagram doesn't get upset about it, but how do we help partners? On the news, every night on the news channel we're watching, there are so many ED commercials. It blows me away. I've heard women talk about, how they don't know how to talk to their partner who might be experiencing ED, and they feel uncomfortable. They don't want to embarrass their partner, but they want to support them. Can you give some openers for women or to
Yeah.
help their
So
partner.
ED, the first thing to do is just normalize
Because it's on
it,
the outside,
right?
right? Whatever we're going through is on the inside. So that's one thing women don't have to feel any shame around.
Yeah.
You can fake it or whatever you want, but men, it's like out.
Yeah.
So
erectile dysfunction is common. 40% of men by age 40 will struggle with some form of ED, not permanent at 40%, but like it's common. It becomes more common. It's a vascular pump, right? So you need a good heart, you need healthy blood vessels. Smoking is horrible for erections. Drinking's awful. Alcohol's awful for erections. People don't talk about that. Night shift work, and then unhealthy body, right? If you're just not in shape, your vasculature is not in shape. So diabetes, cardiovascular disease, high cholesterol, side effects of antidepressants, right? So there are many, many things. And here's the pro tip for a female partner. Do not make his erectile dysfunction mean something about you.
yes, so many women say he doesn't.
So many
If
women,
he
he
still
doesn't love me.
desired me, then that wouldn't happen.
It's not fair. And it's not fair to anybody. It's not fair to the woman to think that, right? And so clean up those thoughts. Realize if you have those thoughts, realize, oh, I'm making it mean I'm unlovable. I'm making it mean I'm unattractive. I'm making it mean he's got a different whatever. Women,
Right.
That's what we do. It's pretty common.
Right.
But to say break that apart, to be like erectile dysfunction is a body health problem. It's his brain is not his penis, and his penis is not his brain. So
really? Like, are you sure? Sometimes
I'm sure in the erectile dysfunction.
like, could you think with the other one, not that one?
They can be connected, but they are separate. But and to bring it up, just to normalize it. You know, I've been watching a lot of these ads on TV. This is like so common because there's so many ads. This must be like everywhere. Be like, you know, have you had any part of that? Or you can say, I'm making your ED mean that you're not attracted to me anymore. Can we talk about this? Because I feel really bad. And even just by sharing that, you're giving him the opportunity to correct that or to share like, oh my God, no. Like it's very personal. Men will make this mean that they're less of a man. That's not what erectile dysfunction means, but that's what they will make it mean. It's very personal. And it might take more than one conversation. But you could, I mean, I've had women, they're like, you know, now once they knew it was heart health, they're like, oh, erectile dysfunction is actually correlated with heart attack. Let's get things checked out.
It's a way to love your partner more, or to show love and support versus make it mean something negative for us, for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super good. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. This is why the book is so fantastic. You Are Not Broken. Make sure you go out and get it. And it's in all the things, all the ways, right? Book, Kindle, audio.
Yep. Audio. I read the audio. So
I might get that next because that way I can listen.
It's about me and your brain.
Yes. I love it when somebody is an expert and fantastic like you and fun and great stories and make it interesting. And then you can move your body at the same time. That is like a win-win. Boom, boom.
Totally.
Okay. So let's give some tips based to help women not feel broken with their intimacy and their sexuality in midlife as we go forward. Because I know you're on the mega tour here, so you got to hop over to your next thing. So go ahead, Kelly. What do you have for us? Some takeaways.
I think a big takeaway is number one, you're not broken. Like you did not get good education on this. That's not your fault. You know, you were a teenager, you were in early relationships, you watched movies, you got an education. It's just not a great one. So just understand that of like, you're not broken. You just didn't know. And sex is decently complex, not all the time, but decently complex. And I mean, the other thing is like for women is this is your sex life. This is not your partner's sex life or your sister's sex life or your neighbor's sex life or anybody else that you feel like you are supposed to compare yourself to. This is not what the experts say a sex life should be. This is what feels good to you, what makes you feel connected, grounded, seen, pleasurable, loved. Whatever those feelings that you desire from sex are, work backwards and be like, I want to feel loved. I want to feel connected. I want to feel pleasure. What do you want from it? And then you can design it. Because nobody's sex life is how it's supposed to be. As far as like,
yeah, and
there's
that's where
no,
we
yeah,
get
there's no
caught in
ownership.
this supposed to, right? What is that? So
yeah, I mean, that's a very common question because we just want to see how we measure up, right? So we're like, what's the right number of time to have sex a week? And it's like quality over quantity, people. You know, we can tell you what average is, but it's completely meaningless if those average people are having crappy sex.
yeah, good point. If you're just mailing it, phoning it in, right?
Right.
Really good. Kelly, I want to ask you two questions before we go here. How has sharing your message, your knowledge, your gift changed your world? How are you feeling about like how big it is now? You know, I know this has been a part of you, and just I see how you are. You know, I met you I think 2 years ago now, and it's just beautiful to me. How has this impacted your life?
Like I didn't know. I always tell people this. You know, I'm still a urologist, seeing 25 people in clinic a day. We all think we're kind of doing a good job, and like this has opened my eyes to gender disparities in healthcare, certainly to gender disparities in heterosexual relationships, to the advocacy that needs to happen to get testosterone deregulated and to get menopause hormones covered fairly. And like it's just like my world's so much bigger because of it, and the need's so much bigger, and the fact that like what I know is resonating, of like I have to keep going because they're like you got to keep going because you changed my life this much. There are that many more people you got to keep reaching. So it's been crazy. Like next March, I'm speaking at the Sydney Opera House.
That's so exciting. Oh, congratulations. It just shows how globally this resonates, how much it's needed, how much women need to hear it, men, partners, and you're changing lives. You're making people's lives better in a way that is not sort of the regular track you think, you know, about I need to work on my mindset or go to therapy or all these things. This is about working from our bodies, our sexual health. And we miss that. We completely miss that.
Yeah. I mean, where do you go? Where do you go to fix this, right?
You go to KellyCaspersonMD.com. That's where you go.
That's true. And the You Are Not Broken podcast.
And the You Are Not Broken podcast, the You Are Not Broken book. I know you have a course now. You have a membership area for people who want more connection to you. You have ways of people to connect with you that you can really make a big, big impact as you already are. So yeah. So gorgeous. Yeah, I always ask all our guests, you know, our company is called Menowell, and it's all about helping women menopause well. What does Menowell mean to you, Dr. Kelly?
Using midlife as like the launching pad for the next step of your evolution.
Yes.
Like people's mindset about this is nuts, but I think that the fact that we call it middle age is profoundly optimistic and like so kick-ass. And it's like, dude, whatever you've done, whether it's raised kids or got the education or tried one career, of like there comes a time where there's more, right? And like and maybe you have different interests, and like it's an amazing opportunity to be like, you've lived a life and now what are you interested in?
Yes.
And so yeah, to me, I'm like, it's profoundly inspirational.
So true. Both you and I have, you know, made pivots in what we've done or gone deeper in our expertise. And that's the invitation of midlife, right? To go deeper on what lights you up. So I'm so glad this lights you up, because then you get to light us up. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you're not following Dr. Kelly already, make sure right here on Instagram, KellyCaspersonMD.com, and same thing, or at, and then .com for all the things. And you're everywhere right now getting that message and your beautiful book out there. So go get them. Thank you.
You know, there's a lot of people to help. 50 million midlife women, you know.
Tip of the iceberg, sister. We got a lot of work to do, right?
Got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do. Will I see you in New York in October?
No, I'm holding down the fort in October. I can't make it.
Well, I'm sure I'm going to see you, well, maybe in November with Dr. Vonda. Did I make that up?
Oh yeah, I'll see you there.
I'll see you there. So there's all the things. Find us, because all of us are here to serve in the highest way.
Cool.
So thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Dr. Kelly. I'm going to get my audiobook now.
Awesome.
Be well. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.